Hello and welcome to Workplace Wizards podcast. This is episode number 18, and this one's entitled Shake It Up. This is brought to you by, I'm your host, Arnell Smalley, or Arnold Smalley, and we have our guest today with Gavin Wong. But Small World Solutions is our sponsor, and we provide highly interactive presentations to help improve your workplace environment. So without further ado, let's bring on Gavin.
Greetings, Arnau. How are you?
I'm good, Gavin. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm happy
All the way
because
from
good results over the weekend. Sport. England won the Euro, football Euros, soccer Euros, which is a big event
soccer,
over here. So I'm happy
soccer,
about that. Soccer, football, as you know.
soccer.
Yeah, football. Which came
Soccer.
first? Okay.
Anyways, you see how we just butt heads, and we're going to talk about that today. Our episode today is called "Shake It Up." Gavin, can you tell me two elements that just don't do well together?
Two elements. Well, I guess the obvious ones would be water and oil. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Oil and water. Why is it that oil and water doesn't it doesn't do well together?
Why? God, blimey! I don't know. I don't know if I know the kind of the chemistry reasons for that, but
Neither do
I,
I. But I was hoping you'd give us that insight. But everybody's had those oil and water relationships, and we're talking
yeah.
about a workplace environment. You'll have several people that just, no matter what, they just can't get along. However, oil and water do mix well together, because if you look at it, there's balsamic vinaigrette, the salad dressing. And can you just go to your refrigerator and grab that salad dressing and just pour it on your salad?
Yeah, no, you got to shake that up, haven't you? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You got to shake it up. And after you shake it up, it just tastes great, after you shake it up. But one of the problems is you'll put that back in the refrigerator. And then when you go to use it again, what do you have to do again?
Right, we have to kind of shake it up again.
Right, because it has a tendency to settle. And a lot of times these companies come into organizations and they'll come in there and they'll shake it up. And then everybody gets along well. Everybody starts getting along well. But over time, things start to settle back to the way they used to be. And that oil and water, they separate. And now they're fighting against each other. So that's what happens in most organizations if they bring in the companies to do that shake it up real quick. But what you'll find is there is a way that oil and water does stick together. Gavin, you know what it is?
God, you might have to help me with this one, Arnell.
I'm sure you know what it is.
Well, you need some sort of well, I guess if you take your analogy of balsamic vinaigrette and that kind of thing, you need some emulsifier to combine things. Don't you? You need something to kind of glue it all together. It's like a third party thing. So I guess I don't know if you're using your food analogy, you could look at mayonnaise, that type of thing, where you've kind of you glue it
Exactly,
together.
exactly. But the key word you said in that was the emulsifier. And the emulsifier is something that holds it together.
Mm.
So it keeps its consistency together so it doesn't separate. So what you have is oil and water is made up in balsamic vinaigrette. It's just oil and water, and they'll shake it up and you can use it and it works well. But in mayonnaise, it's also just oil and water, but they've added some substance to it to help it stick together. And that's where Small World Solutions comes in, Gavin, because we are the emulsifier. We were the ones that are come into a company, an organization, and help them stick together so that they can continue that productive workforce environment that they've obtained when somebody came in there and shook it up.
Yeah, I think I quite like that approach because it is very true. Actually, a lot of things you can fix very short term, and you can have short term fixes by for whatever, however you do it. And particularly with conflict, you can just sort things out. I say just the here and now. But the trick, as you say, is to actually make that last. And I guess the question for you, I guess, is what's the approach you take to really make that stick? I guess longer term.
Right. So some of the trainings that we do are related to emotional intelligence, and improving your emotional intelligence is a way of having that stick together, because it increases your self-awareness and increases
Mm.
your social skills, so that therefore you can now be that emulsifier in your own work environment, because when something arises, you'll have the tools and the skills to deal with that on a professional level. And that comes with DISC, the human behavior styles. Learning the
Mm.
human behavior styles is saying, hey, I understand that like you may be different than me. I'm talking about you, Gavin, may be different than me, and how we can work better together despite our differences. Uh, and that's real hard work on my part.
That's the easiest thing you've ever had to do, surely. But I like your approach with the emotional aware intelligence stuff, because um, I think when we look at conflict, certainly within the police service, we use certain models. One of them is certainly about, if you don't understand the problem and jointly and kind of understand what's driving the kind of behavior or activity, you can't really come up with those solutions which will give you that long-term effect. So, and you can't do that unless you've got that self-awareness, as you described. And I know
Mhm.
um, you talk a lot about the emotional intelligence, but that's so key, I think, in terms of managing people and just working with other people in organizations, because you can't possibly like or get on with everybody because we're
Right.
all different. But you've got to understand why people come from different perspectives and what drives them. Because if you can really truly understand, and also how you behave, you might be behaving in a way which really irks somebody else, but you just don't realize because you just don't sit from them. So I think that's really good. So how do you use that then? If you can, how can you make sure that that long term kind of solution really sits? And what do you do?
Well, because when you build up your social awareness and
Mhm.
your self awareness, you're building your empathy. And when you have
Okay.
empathy towards another individual, you're willing to listen a little bit more and just hear that person out on their viewpoint. Now, you still can have opposite viewpoints,
Mm,
but because of your empathy, you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to actually listen to Gavin for once,
mm.
and just take his consideration into take his thoughts into consideration, and then we might be able to work something out."
Yeah, and then you realise you've been wrong again, and you have to do it my way. But the key, because the key bit for you on now is that you want to be willing to listen to me. Okay, and that's it.
Yes.
And actually, if people, I think very often where we get conflict is that people aren't really willing to change or to listen, in particular, from other people. And there could be a lot of reasons which drive people's motivation to be like that, and it could be the pressures of work and all those sort of things. But you really got to want to improve and listen to someone else and have a better environment to see sometimes you've got to see the greater good for things, even if you don't like working with a particular, because some people like people but just don't like working with them, and that causes conflict as well. But
Yeah.
you got to want to change. Okay, because
Right.
leadership is a choice. I've said this before. I mean, leadership is a choice. You decide how you want to be with other people. Okay, and if you're not prepared to change and to adapt, then you're not going to be a good leader, are you? So I think that
Mhm.
willingness is, I think, is really key for me.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. Leadership is a choice. And a lot of times that when people try to pick their leaders, like if you're the CEO of an organization and
Mm,
you're trying to pick your leaders, that's where the IQ comes in and the
mm,
EQ comes in. Because a
mm,
lot of leaders or a lot of CEOs would want that person who's the smartest person, think, okay, that would be the best leader for us. But that's
mm,
not necessarily true. And you'll find that a lot of your greatest leaders are not the ones with the highest IQ,
mm.
they're the ones with the highest EQ. And the
Yes.
EQ is that emotional intelligence because they have that empathy to listen to other people and make everyone feel valued and make everyone feel as if they're part of the team.
Mm,
So those are the big elements that you want in your leadership. And like you said, it's not something that just comes easy. You have to work at it. And our
mm.
motto for Small World Solution is practice, 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 because practice makes what?
Makes it better.
Makes it better. Practice makes progress. It does not make perfect. It so practice makes progress. So if you practice, you will improve. If you
Mm,
don't, you won't.
mm. And that's definitely right. I think even with emotional intelligence and kind of awareness, Some of those things are quite hard to change, but if you don't know about it or even want to change, you're never going to change. But you can change. It takes time, as you say, it takes practice. But actually, you can definitely change um, that level of intelligence, that emotional intelligence within you for the better, and understand things from a different perspective, which I think is really powerful. And actually, those people, I admire those people that are prepared to go down that journey
Right.
and work hard, because those are people that are going to work hard at work. They probably value people on some level, and just the fact that they want to improve, I think it says a lot about people. And also it shows an element of resilience, because you're probably going to want to improve because you're going through a period where things haven't gone so well. So the fact you just want to change
Right.
and improve, that's great.
You're getting to that point in your work career where things are just hit a stall. You've hit the ceiling where you don't feel like
Mm.
you can make any movement forward. That's where you bring in Small World Solutions, where we can help you. We can help you with your emotional intelligence, improve your emotional intelligence with not only with yourself, but all your coworkers. And then we also have disc training, which we can tell you about human behavior styles, where you can learn how to speak to other people in their language. And that is the key. Speak, because if you're a leader, you can't treat every single person the same way or give every single person the same motivational speech, because that's not what they may want to hear. So if you learn everyone's true language, then you'll know how to reach and pull in all those people that maybe on opposite sides, or the ones that are butting heads, or the maybe the oil and you being the vinegar. I mean, you being the water, and you'll find out how you get that oil and water to mix together again. So on that
Yeah.
note, Gavin, we're gonna say goodbye. So
Okay.
if you're watching the Small World Solutions Workplace Wizards podcast, we'd like to thank you for watching us, and join us on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And if you want to reach out to us, you can reach us by emailing a smalley at smallworldsolutions.net, or you can call us at 754 971 7007. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today. And if you have any other questions, leave us a note, leave us a comment on one of the on our social media apps, and we'll entertain that comment on our next episode. So until then, we say goodbye.
Cheerio.